There it is. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is going to be a fun flip the script kind of thing because usually when I go live, I'm talking to somebody else and interviewing somebody else. But I got a cool opportunity to get one of the top podcasters in the world who's an absolute fucking amazing beast when it comes to podcasting. She's the host of one of my favorite podcasts called Fine is a Four-Letter Word. And I asked her if she would interview me about the new book, Fuck to Focus. So I'm going to kick this over to her and let her do her thing and watch her play Stump the Chump here in a second.
So much fun. I am honored to be here interviewing you, Donnie, about this awesome book. Yeah, I got my questions all ready here.
Nice.
So let's come straight out of the gate and go with there are a lot of great business books out. A lot of books that entrepreneurs, like the must-read list for entrepreneurs and business owners. So why is this one different?
I really think a lot of the books that are currently out there tell the stories and tell the wins, and they tell the achievements and what people have done, but they don't tend to then share the tactics. And I think very rarely do you find that we get the raw, ugly side of building a business, right? People tend to really paint it in sunshine and rainbows of getting into business. And for me, I felt like that if I could really walk them through some of the darkest moments of my life, that other people would be able to resonate with that and be able to go, okay, he's been where I've been, and now look what he's doing. And I wanted people to realize that it's gonna work, it's gonna make it happen. It's other people have walked the path, and I wanted to give them the tactics to walk through. I really want people to read the book and be able to go, all right, here's my complete roadmap of building a business. And I really think most books are just trying to sell their shit.
Okay. All right. No, I think it is a great roadmap. And because you have it in this order that it's like, okay, do this, do this, do this. So speaking about do this, do this, do this, you have this one chapter where you talk about having 3 major business development activities.
Mm-hmm.
What are your 3 personal favorites?
Absolutely being guest on podcast, number 1. I love doing this, or stages, either way. For my hand raising one, it's social content. I love putting out content, engaging, cold reach outs. I still love doing private messages to people and getting conversations started and going. And then of course networking my ass off. So I know it's more than 3, but I do a whole ton. I mean, I tell everybody they need to have one in each category. That's really the minimum you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to just pick, one of each one of those to do. But for most people, if they did one of each of those categories, they'd be doing 100 times more than they're currently doing in their business development activities, hoping that somebody shows up and just throws money at them.
Yeah. How much time do you recommend people devote to each one of those?
Oh, that's a brilliant question. If they're under $100,000 in revenue for their company, a majority of their time. Because I can tell you that breaking your first $100,000 in sales is the toughest thing you'll ever do. Because along that ride, you've got to figure out what your business is, who you're selling to, get an idea of all the processes, systems, and be able to figure out how your business functions as a whole. I would say under $100,000, anytime you can be client facing, you need to be doing business development activities, and then do all of the deliverables, if you will, after times you can't be client facing, because if you're not out selling, you're not going to win. Your business is just not going to work because you're going to be so in the business versus out there growing and trying to actually build a business.
Do you think that's the the main reason why businesses don't succeed is because people spend so much time doing the things like, oh, I got to build a website. I got to, get business cards printed or whatever, like the things
Yep.
that they think that keep them busy, but not
Oh,
focused
without
on
it.
the right stuff. So, you hear these statistics about how many, with a percent of businesses that don't make it to 3 years or whatever it is. Do you think that's the main reason why? Because they're focusing on the wrong activities?
It's twofold for me. One, I think the businesses that succeed are the most creative fuckers on the planet. They're the ones that just get most creative. When times get hard, they get creative. Outside of creativity, yeah, it's absolutely the ability to go sell. I mean, we can go through when the pandemic hit, we launched networking groups to really help other businesses. But I can promise you, I mean, I really felt like we were going to be fine, but that damn sure made sure we stayed in business by creating something in a moment where everybody else was in panic and chaos.
Mhm.
And I think that those two factors, the ability to get creative and the ability to go sell, are the two leading factors of why businesses fail, because so many people look at sales as an icky activity or something they don't want to freaking do, when they don't realize that that's their only function for the
Mhm.
longest time, is to actually sell their shit. And they really need to devote a crap ton of time to it to make sure it works.
You just said something, and I got to throw this in here. But, practicing meditation enhances creativity. Just saying.
Of course you did, Rabbit. Good for you. Good for you. I'll flip it back on her, guys. If you've ever thought about doing meditation, you've ever thought of freaking practicing gratitude, this is your gal. She's a beast and one of the best in the fucking game at doing it. I promise you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, talking about, you talk about faking, you talk about not faking it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
That concept and how what you teach is different.
Yeah. The whole idea of fake it till you make it is just lying to yourself, right? Because you put on this persona of, I'm gonna be somebody, or I'm gonna do something, or I'm gonna act a certain way. I'm gonna act like I already got $1 million. It's a straight up lie, and you're lying to yourself, so you don't even believe you can do the activity in the first place. I want you to go through it and become it, because the ability to get punched in the face, if you will, and then step forward and move a little bit further, is what will solve most problems for anybody. But people don't want to freaking take the hits. They don't want to freaking get in the game and do the things. They want to fake it till they make it. This is where, toxic positivity and all that crap comes into play, because, neuroplasticity has been taken so far out of context of, if I just tell myself I'm awesome, I love myself, then I'm awesome and I love. Well, that's not how it works.
Right.
You got to go do the work and you got to put in the time. So this whole idea of fake it till you make it, I think it's just causing more people to move backwards in life versus forwards.
Yeah, I completely agree, because you're telling yourself something that your subconscious knows is not
It's
true.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's kind of like affirmations, using affirmations. When you are only talking to your conscious mind, your subconscious mind is like, yeah, okay, I don't believe you. Like,
Right.
that's not true. And nothing changes.
For sure. No, I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I tell people to go freaking say it in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because you go look yourself in the mirror and try and say that shit, and you're going to find every lie that you're trying to tell yourself real quick. You can't lie to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm going to throw in here, I don't know if it's a testimonial, what to call it, but your advice in just go do it, and then you can prove to yourself that you can do it kind of thing, which, so I'm part of Champions Table, which you mentioned throughout the book. And one of the things that you had advised me a while back was just go start the program.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get some people in your program and start teaching it. And that builds confidence. Like I knew I could do the thing, but I wasn't doing the thing. And now I really know I can do the thing.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah,
I am doing the thing.
I was literally talking to a guy today, and he's like, "Man, I'm thinking about doing this, and I got all this things, but I'm thinking about how this program should work. I should be doing." And you could tell he's just all up in his head. And I said, "Stop." I said, "Start a workshop. 2 weeks from now, put a workshop on and go sell the damn thing." He goes, "But what do I teach?" I'm like, "Okay, give me 5 steps." Right? Give me 5 steps that you teach in that workshop. And you go boom, 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 boom. And next thing you know, he's got his entire workshop, and he sent me a message a little while ago that he just got somebody sold into his workshop.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's the doing of the thing that causes you to figure out what to do.
Why do you think people are so reluctant to do the thing?
It's work.
Well, yes, but
Nah,
lots
I
of
mean,
people are not afraid of work. They're
yeah, no,
working all the
that's a
time.
cop
They're
out of
just
my
not
part.
getting results.
Yeah, that's a cop out of my part. It's they don't honestly know what to do. I think they're really looking at it and they're confused by what action to take. And because they're really much like Borden's donkey, where there's a bucket of water on one side, hay on the other, and the donkey dies because it doesn't know if it should eat the hay or drink the damn water, right? But the trick is you got to break down everything you're doing to the most micro tiniest step you can possibly can. Like we'll talk the workshop idea. Okay, how do I create a workshop? How do I sell it? How do I do it? Step one, just set a date.
Mhm.
Don't worry about what you're going to teach. Set a damn date. Step two, cool. Go tell people what you're going to teach. Step three, sell them on the idea that this is what you're going to teach. Get people to say yes. Step four, build the damn workshop. And what everybody flips that up, they spend all the time building the workshop and they don't sell it. And then they create something that nobody wants. Right. And now they're frustrated because they spent all this time and energy building out something and nobody wants to buy it.
Or I think a lot of times they build it, but then we get into our heads and go, okay, but I
Imposter
don't know if
syndrome.
this is good enough to
Yep.
put out. So, something else that you've talked about in the past is like, okay, so you're at that bottom of that curve thing, and you're like, oh, this isn't good enough. Let me start over.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing is to go a little deeper in that is most people be like, okay, workshop, that's going to be the thing. I'm going to do a workshop. And they start putting it all together and like, holy shit, this is a lot of work. I don't know if I can do all this. And they get to a really tough point and they're like, you know what? Instead, I'm going to do a podcast because podcast is going to be the answer. And they go back over, they start a podcast and they're like, oh my God, nobody's listening to the show. This is so much heavy lifting. They get to a point where it's just too hard and like, screw it, I'm going to go write a book. And then they start over. And every time the going gets tough, instead of plowing through that moment and starting to figure things out and going and breaking things, they just keep starting over. And this is why people's cycle of lives, they keep repeating, last year over and over again. And why most people, when they tell you they got 25 years of sales experience, they really got year one just repeated 25 times because they've actually never done anything.
Right. Which leads into my next question really well. So I love the concept of exploring your excuses.
So for me, man, I honestly, looking back, I can tell I used a lot of excuses, but in the moment, I didn't think I did. But when you get to become a business owner, you run out of excuses really damn quick because there's nobody left to blame, and what I got annoyed by in myself was I was finding myself in consistently almost trying to play this blame game. And, it's because of this or because of this. And I finally started asking, okay, but why? Why is it because of that? And every time it came back because I was not doing the thing. And when you start exploring your excuses and understand what's the cause of those, you're usually going to find some sort of fear attached to that in the front end, man. And when you explore that fear and where it comes from, now you can start dancing with it. Now you can start doing something with it. And now you can start, creating something and moving beyond that fear, because it's not about conquering that fear. It's 100% about who you become as you walk through it. And that's the power of exploring your excuses, so you understand why you're using them in the first place. And it's a powerful move, man. It's a very powerful move.
Yeah, it is. It's a matter of exploring like you said, understanding where that fear is coming from, or not even necessarily where. It doesn't matter where it's coming from, but that it's there.
Right.
And, we talk about courage in my three trilogy for success. Courage is the last thing. It's gratitude, connections, and courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing the thing in spite of, or
for sure,
walking through the fear to get to the thing.
That's it. That's a beautiful way of saying it, and it just goes back to most people, when they get a fear, they stop. And they don't even realize that most times those fears pop up, it's the universe really saying, go that direction.
Yeah.
Let's go learn something, right? That's the right direction to actually go. There was an old arcade game called Dragonlance that I freaking loved. I sucked at it, right? It was a stand-up arcade game. And what it was, of course, you're a knight battling dragons and shit, right? And on the screen, this light would flash on the corner of the screen, and you had a joystick in the middle of the stand-up little arcade. When the light flashed, you were supposed to slam the joystick at the right proper angle. And if you got the light right, you moved out of the way from the dragon hitting you. And I think that's the way the universe works with fear a lot of times. When the fear pops up, you slam everything straight at it. And if you get it right, you'll be out of the way. Bad things won't happen to you, and you'll move forward. But what most people do is they make a quick move, and they're like, yeah, maybe not. And then they get fucking smashed by the dragon, and the fear ends up whooping their ass. Man, when those fears pop up, you got to go straight to fuck at them. No hesitancy, no anything, and go slam that remote right at them.
That is such a different way of looking at it. Like, I've never been taught that you go straight at the fear that way. It makes sense though, because for most fears, it's scarier when you're looking at it, but when you're going through it, like, it's scarier thinking about doing the thing than it is to actually do the thing. Once you do the thing, you're like, well, what was I afraid of?
One of the most amazing stories I ever heard about this is buffalo on a prairie. When buffalo are on a prairie and a massive thunderstorm's coming through, most animals run away from it. Buffalo run straight at it because the buffalo figured out if they run straight at the storm, it passes by quicker. So it's the same thing with your fears. If you run straight at the fucking storm, you get through that so much faster than running away and let that fear keep trying to catch up to you. Because eventually the fear is going to catch you if you do it that way.
Right. That makes sense. Because if you're running at it and it's coming this way, then the time passing is faster than if you're running away from it. It's always chasing you and it's going to finally catch up to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. I get it. You talk a lot in the book about using stories to sell. So what do you say, or what do you advise somebody who says, well, I don't have any stories?
Everybody's got stories.
How can they find them, or how do they dig them out?
You know, just as simplest trick in the world is to literally write down every major thing that's ever happened in your life. Good, bad, ugly, otherwise. And spend some time, spend 20, 30 minutes writing down every major story that's ever happened in your life. Then go through each one of those stories, good, bad, otherwise, and go, okay, what did I learn? What did I learn from that story? Then when you're trying to sell, figure out how you use that story to tell how you learn something about you, whatever it is you sell. And it's fascinating that when, I spent a lot of my time in, selling sales training. And when you can talk about, sales calls you screwed up and why you screwed it up, you create empathy. When you, if you're doing coaching or consulting and you talk about periods in your life when you just weren't doing it and how you overcame, people relate to that. But even so, your origin story really connects with a lot of people because, for the longest time, I hid from being a blue collar kid because I didn't want people to know I grew up on a farm and stuff. And crazy thing is that's the thing most people fucking related to. Is I was just a good old boy, country kid. And once I started bringing those kind of stories up and where I came from, people were fascinated by my background story. But also the flip side of that is finding out somebody else's story is a powerful maneuver as well, and figuring out their origin story and where they come from. But everybody's got stories. They're more scared to share them than they are about discovering them. Because if most people go through life thinking, oh my God, if this person knows me, they'll never do business with me. And it's the absolute opposite of that at all times.
Speaking of that, you share a lot of your personal stories in the book, of course, right? Because that's what makes the book interesting. That's not the only thing that makes the book interesting, but it is. It would be for centuries. That's how people have communicated stuff is through stories. And so I'm thinking you're saying about telling the personal stories of the story of your first sale. Like first having to make sales calls when you just stared down the phone. That was hilarious. I laughed out loud at that.
And that's all true. I mean, I literally snuck off to the liquor store because I couldn't pick up the damn phone. Here I was, fucking U.S. Marine, You know, I'm
Right.
supposed to be a tough guy, and I could not pick up the freaking phone. And I knew I had to make it work. So I snuck off to the damn liquor store, came back with a bottle and started doing shots. And even Liquid Courage wouldn't let me to pick up the phone. And then when I finally did pick up the phone, somebody said hello. I hung it back up really quick because
Right. I could totally picture this. I could picture myself doing this. I don't know about the shots part, but the definitely staring down the phone and being like, "Hello, no."
Because I mean, I had no clue what to say. You know, I knew I was supposed to do this, but nobody was teaching me, hey, you should do this or say this and this. And so, yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly. But going through that is what taught me how to cold call.
Yeah.
Because it sucks, right? Cold calling sucks. But when you go through it, you try it a couple of times and you're like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's change it up. Let's try something different. I mean, I'll go back to like me telling you to do all the reach outs on LinkedIn. I told you to do it a specific way. You did it for a little while and you're like, all right, fuck it. That's not my way. And you started changing it up and finding a little bit of success and things with it because you started tinkering with it. And that's how you figure everything out.
Right. And you have to have some kind of basis. Like somebody has to give you a template to start with. And then once you figure out if that template works for you or how you can manipulate it or adjust it to make it work for you. But starting from nothing is really hard.
It's hard. And that's where I came from. And I agree that if somebody can hand you a template that allows you to give it a go and at least have some talking points or something for whatever you're trying, it does make the process feel doable. Because I'm not even going to use the word easy or simple because it's not.
Right. It is not. It is not. No. All right. I have one more question for you.
Cool.
How does one find a Kevin?
So, you know, I can tell most people if you're showing up in the world and you're doing good things, you have people that are champion of you and they're into you, your story, and what you do. I would tell you to meet with as many freaking people as you possibly can. Come from a place of how can I help somebody get where they want to go and fucking pour into people. Finding a Kevin, everybody needs one. Flat out, everybody needs one.
Everyone who's reading this book for sure needs one because I think the majority of people who are going to be reading this book are visionaries.
Agreed. You know, and I think it's focusing specifically. Well, one, and I would tell everybody this, is look for your arch nemesis. Don't look for your doppelganger. You don't want somebody just like you because all you're going to do is butt heads. But go find people and get around people that geek out on the crap you suck at. That's not sales because you can't get away from sales, right? But I mean, I found Kevin because my email shit broke up, and it wasn't working, right? And you got to go find the people that are technical in nature and get in their world. And, sometimes you don't know what they're really good at, but the right people that you start partnering up with, the ones that you're going to run with are the ones that kept saying, I can do that. I can do that for you. And that's what Kevin did, through the process. So it's about putting yourself out there, pouring into people, having a ton of conversations with people that you can serve first and then ultimately want to help you back.
Yeah. Well, your story of finding Kevin is almost like it kind of happened by accident.
Totally.
Like you weren't looking for Kevin.
No.
But you didn't know how much you needed a Kevin
for sure
until you had one.
Well, I mean, I would challenge that. I mean, I'll challenge a little bit because I knew that I could not do this on my own. I don't have the thinker mentality or the tinkerer mentality of I don't want to create automations and things, right? That's just not my thing. Let me go be the guy on stages and podcasts and put myself out there. And Kevin likes doing that too. But he also really enjoys all the operational things, the tinkering and putting things together. So I knew that I was going to have somebody that was really good at all that stuff so I could free up my time to get out there. I just wasn't looking for it at the moment when I found Kevin.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how they always say it, right? Like if you're looking for
same thing even with dating, right?
I was just going to say, like when you're not looking, you'll find them. Okay. But that's kind of like going, well, don't think about purple elephants.
Right. And I always think about the purple elephants, right? And I think for a lot of people that are building a business, I think if they focus more on actually trying to build a company
Hmm.
versus trying to build a job, and that's a lot of things what the I hopeful was the focus of the book was as a whole was, build a company, think like a CEO, thinking who can do this for me and build something that works towards operating without you. And I think people always come at it from one or two angles. Angle one is they are the tinkerer and they don't want it to run without them. Or two, they're so passionate about what they do, nobody can do it as good as them. And both of those ways are a surefire way to put yourself out of business.
Yeah.
So you got to explore, you got to go fuck things up, and things will start working in your favor.
Yeah, there's so many good points to think about in the book. So I highly recommend that if you're watching this and you haven't purchased the book yet, go get it. It's, if one chapter doesn't resonate with you, another chapter will, because there's something in there that's going to help you improve your business for sure.
Absolutely. And I want to flip this just 1 second. So, Badass Business Summit's coming up September 22nd through the 24th. Lori is actually going to be one of the damn speakers there and freaking wowing the crowd and having a good time. So, you want to talk 2 seconds about what you're teaching there, what you're talking about at the summit?
Sure. Yeah. I'm talking about how to make good decisions, like having me host your live stream, making good decisions.
Right?
So many
Well
people,
played. Well played.
so many people get stuck in this place where they're like a squirrel. They're like running to one side of the road and then to the other side. And should I stop here? And then they stop in the middle of the road and then they're panicked and cars are coming. There's a reason why we do that. And that's what I'm going to talk about, why we do that and how to move past doing that so you aren't the squirrel stuck in the middle of the road.
Love it. Love it. So if you guys do us a favor, go, get the book Fuck to Focus on Amazon. Check out the Badass Business Summit and come hang out with us in September. But Lori, you're amazing. Thank you so much for stepping up and helping out with this. This was
My
such
pleasure.
a damn fun. And guys, do her a huge favor. And if you haven't listened to the show, Fine is a 4-letter word. Go listen to that podcast. You're going to be blown away by the talent and the guests she has on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you guys later. Stay fun and stay out of trouble.